Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is the White Feather Tarot, and in today's reading we're doing something very interesting. We're doing what is your inner child trying to tell you. And for this pick a card reading, I'm using the Russian doll, or as the Russians I call them, matryoshka doll. I hope I didn't butcher that, but that's how I heard it in Russia. Matryoshka doll, and it's thought to symbolize traditional values of Russian society, which among them, and this is why this interested me for today's reading, is searching for truth and meaning. And for me personally, it symbolizes your inner child, because if you notice, each one of them carries an inner child in them. And so I thought it was a perfect symbol for today's reading. So I want you to take a look at these three dolls here and see which one you're the most drawn to. And that's probably the pile for you here today. If you feel drawn to more than one pile, as usual, I always tell you to trust your intuition. It'll always guide you in the right direction. You'll find the timestamps down in the description box. Click on your times and I'll see you in your readings. Hi, pile number one. So today for your reading, we're going to use a combination of crystals, cubes, and tarot in order to find exactly what your inner child wants to say to you. All right, so let's put your beautiful doll on the side here so you can see it throughout the reading. And let's first pick the crystal for your reading. So what does pile number one's inner child wants to tell them? I wonder what crystal you got, pile number one. Moonstone. That's really interesting, actually. Okay, now let's take a look at... Actually, I want to put your cubes here. Let's organize this efficiently. Right. Right here. Right, so now we have space for your cubes. First, let's take a look at your tarot cards. So what does pile number one's inner child want to say to them? What does pile number one's inner child want to say to them? All right, so you have pile number one. Temperance, interesting. Wow, what an interesting card to come up. You have the Four of Cups. You have the Ace of Wands. Gosh, how I missed them. You have the Queen of Swords. I think pile number one, your inner child is really missing a connection with you. Okay, let's take your Osho tarot cards to clarify these cards further. Very interesting here, you're reading pile number one. So what does pile number one's inner child want to say to them? You have Harmony right under Temperance. Do you see that, pile number one? Okay. Right. Very interesting. You have Intensity right under Four of Cups. Now that makes sense. These are like polar opposites here. You have Possibilities right under Ace of Wands. Very interesting reading there, pile number one. Ah, that's why you have the Moonstone. Okay, we'll get into that really soon. You have Sharing right under Queen of Swords. Now the last thing I want to pull out for your reading in order to complete this is your cubes. And I'm going to shuffle them away from the camera so that it doesn't hurt your ears. Hold on a sec. Great. Let me organize this and come back. So pile number 1, your inner child reading is a very unique reading that I have never encountered before. In fact, it was quite a surprise for me. You have a very unique character, pile number 1, because ever since you were a small child, you faced your hardships in a very different manner. In fact, you made a lot of peace with your inner child from the very beginning when you were young, meaning that when life was tough on you and you didn't know what to do, if you've had troubles with parents or people at school or whatever hardships you went through, you actually took it upon yourself to figure out ways to achieve what you want ever since you were a little child. You've always figured out how to create opportunities for each other, for yourself, how to save up when you wanted to get something, how to create these opportunities and open doors. And you were quite self-disciplined in terms of doing things for yourself, pile number 1, when you were a child. When you felt like life wasn't serving you, your inner child, or you being as a child, you were there for yourself. You were very creative and you thought of different ways on how to save yourself and how to get it done for yourself. Now, I think when you grew up a little, you buried that inner child, pile number 1, and while that could have served you a little bit during that phase, it really dropped a lot of things and made it harder for yourself. I think it hurt your self-esteem behind the closed doors when you weren't noticing. Life became a bit tough and you didn't know why. And I think the reason you abandoned this inner child that was always there for you, pile number 1, was because when things got intense for you, you had to hide and not acknowledge your inner child. So examples of tough situation could have been you needing to conform to society in order to appeal to friends maybe, or to lovers who expected you to maybe look in a different way or act in a certain way. Other intense situations could be your work, where you had to appear in a certain way very firmly, and that entailed sometimes, or a lot of times, having to hide this inner child and for yourself before everyone else. And so this hurt you a lot, pile number 1. And so you're not a pile who completely abandoned their inner child. In fact, you're quite proud of your inner child. But there are times when you completely disabandoned them and you weren't proud at all. And this is why you have the moonstone. You going through phases where your inner child serves you a lot. It makes people amazed of who you are, because you have quite a unique inner child here. Very, very balanced, sweet inner child. And that straight away tells me that you're an old soul. That's why you probably have this confusion here. You are already coming into the earth with a lot of wisdom with you. And so you didn't have to abandon this inner child all the time. But there were other times where you had to completely disown them, completely act like it wasn't you, because of their shortcomings. I don't want to say shortcomings, but because of the things that you were not patient enough to learn how to do. And this is the time where you absolutely hurt and wounded this inner child. And I'm sure this is why you clicked on this reading here. So what your inner child is telling you here, pile number 1, is that whenever you see yourself wanting to achieve something that you're not at the moment able to achieve it, you see other people do it so effortlessly, whether that is a skill or a certain personality characteristic or looks, whatever it is. Whenever you see yourself wanting to achieve something great, wishing for something great, trying to pretend like it and not achieve it. Your inner child is telling you to go back to the inner child. Stop pushing them away. Stop pretending like they're not there. You have to first acknowledge this inner child. Accept them for exactly who they are, for the wonderful things that they've done for you, and for the things that they still need to learn. So you have to make peace with your inner child. Tell them that you love them. You accept them for exactly who you are. You're not going to try to be something quick, that you're not quicker than when you are going to achieve it, but rather harbor this inner child. Show them that you really accept them. Love them for who they are, because it's you at the end of the day. And make a pact with them to grow together. Because when you do that, you're going to go from nothing at all to everything that you want. By first acknowledging them, because I hear here in my ears, but I acknowledge them, and then I hear your inner child saying, no, it's not true. I don't see the acknowledgement. They're not holding my hands. So you have to hold this inner child. Tell them, I'm not ashamed of you, of the shortcomings that you need to learn. And I'm going to hold your hand, never let go of it again. And I promise you, I'm okay with who I am now in these shortcomings. And together, we're going to learn, read, and become self-disciplined about how to grow the site together. I promise you, I'm going to put this effort for you, my little inner child. And together, we're going to grow into that we really dream to be. What a beautiful message. You have such a wise inner child here, pile number 1, that is truly helping you, because it's already wise. You're already a wise soul. And I truly see you're such a wise, balanced person to start with. Naturally, you naturally have high ethical skills. You're naturally honest. You're naturally a good person. You've balanced out so much in your past lives that's just the last moon phase to go through, pile number 1. Such a sweet, smart, witty inner child here. And your inner child is telling you, pile number 1, that just like I have figured things out for you ever since you were a small person, small child, I promise you, if you put your hands with me, I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to take you where you want to go. But first, you need to acknowledge me and be okay with me, pile number 1. What a sweet inner child. You're such a sweet person, pile number 1. So I see your inner child here telling you, repeat after me. Say it in your solitude. It's okay if I'm this. It's okay if I'm this now. It's okay if I am this now. And so on. Repeat them, acknowledge them, own them. Own them, pile number 1. And say, I promise I'm going to learn how to slowly move into what I want to be. It's telling you, pile number 1, that when times are tough and intense and you feel like you're just about to disown and pretend to be something that you're not in certain specific situations, it's telling you to acknowledge it. That's the moment when you need to acknowledge it. Be okay if people see you that way now, because you and your inner child are promising each other now. You, big hand, inner child, small hand, are promising each other now that you're going to take you from this to this, pile number 1. And that's a pact. It's a pact that you're going to make together in this reading, or together in solitude. That together you both promise to own each other, them loving you, you loving them, and moving towards what's right for you by being disciplined and learning and being okay now with what you have. Because that's your little inner child, pile number 1. Pile number one, it was an honor doing this reading for you. I loved your sweet little inner child. And if you've enjoyed this reading, please give me a thumbs up. Also, leave an emoji of a person down there so I know you've made it this far, symbolizing your inner child. And don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss a reading that I upload. And I'll catch you in the next reading. Bye! Hi, pile number two. So this is your Russian doll. Let's put it aside, and we're going to use different divination tools specifically for this reading. We're going to use crystals, we're going to use cubes and tarot to find out exactly what your inner child wants to tell you. So first of all, let's see the crystal for your reading, the energy coming out. What does... Okay, I'll just take the first one. Didn't even need to ask the question. Your inner child is ready to break out of its silence. Okay, so you have the petalite. Now, interesting. Let me put it here. How did I do this last time? Yeah, I'm going to put it here. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to put your crystal here. And yeah, ready to break the silence because, oh no, 6 is a loving number. Now that's to take into consideration. So silence and love. Right, now let's take your tarot cards and see, what does your inner child want to tell you? What does pile number 2's inner child wants to say to them? So you have, oh, 2 of Cups. What? 6 of Cups. Now that is a unique reading. And I thought pile number 1 was super unique. You guys really surprised me. I know I pull very unique people into my channel. I see readings that I have never seen before. Excuse me. 2 of Wands. Wow. 10 of Wands. Let me take your Osho tarot for clarification. So, what does pile number 2's inner child want to say to them? What does pile number 2's inner child want to say to them? Flowering right under 2 of Cups. You're a very unique person, pile number 2. I see you've been taking care of your inner child, actually. Good for you. You have playfulness right under 6 of Cups. I'm mind blown. You have compromise right under 2 of Wands. And you have rebirth right under 10 of Wands. I mean, if I wanted to make this up, I couldn't have made it as perfect. Okay, first of all, let me take out your cubes so that we have a clear reading here. I'm going to shuffle this behind the camera so it doesn't hurt your ears. Okay, let me organize this and come back. So pile number 2. The reason I tell you that your reading is very unique is because all of your cards, including your crystals, are telling you that your inner child feels absolutely connected to you. It looks like you have worked a lot into figuring things out, respecting them greatly, reading a lot, educating yourself, taking yourself out of that dark hole, acknowledging who they are, accepting yourself for who you are, and growing together with your inner child. And because you've done a lot of inner work, I see here you've done a lot of inner work by reading and educating yourself, self-reflection a lot, maybe talking to your inner child personally. journaling, using different divination tools. You have, my friend, done a lot of rebirths over and over. You've done so much hard work to grow, and you flourished a lot, pile number 2. There is something that your inner child definitely wants to say to you here that I will get into in a couple of seconds. But first, uniquely, your reading is to tell you that your inner child is being taken care of. Chapeau, pile number 2. Good job. And the other part here that your inner child wants to tell you as part of your progress is that with the petalite here, you need to be a witnesser now, an observer. You need to have the ability to detach in order to observe things better. Why? Because right now there are things that you're not seeing that trigger you. There are things that are affecting you that you're not able to handle very well, like you've grown here a lot. I don't know what you did, but you worked very hard on yourself, and you've definitely grown into a healthier, much healthier person. Wow. But there are blind spots, is exactly what I want to say. Blind spots that you can't see, pile number 2. And your inner child is not able to communicate it to you. So here is your advice. In order to see your triggers better, and from these triggers understand what's going on, what's going wrong, you need to silence yourself in order to hear your inner child. What does that mean? You need to follow a sacred, what is the word called? A sacred practice. You need to follow a sacred practice that ancient civilizations have done for millions of years. Millions? I'm so sorry, I lost it there. For thousands of years, that has truly served them. And it's sacred and very wise. We stopped doing it now, but if you read the different religions, if you read about different ancient civilizations, they would go quiet for a couple of days, for as long as you can. I mean, we work now, it's a busy life. But I see the number 3 here. 2 or 3. 2 or 3. So it's up to you. Pile number 3, 2. See? So it's either 2 or 3. Try to go silent for 2 or 3 days. Don't talk to anyone at all. Try answer very urgent things, like of course work you need to answer, your children of course you need to tend to, but try to make it when it's urgent. Don't talk or don't text, don't communicate at all. That's the key here, unless it's urgent. This way you will connect with your inner child. Do you see pile number 2? It's the only way you can connect. Why, you ask? It's because it's during these silent times that you really can see your triggers. And you notice yourself wanting to say something, but you hold on because you're not supposed to talk. And then you ask yourself, hey, why did I need to say that so much? And you learn something about yourself. Was it because I needed to brag? Was it because I needed to defend myself? Was it because I'm triggered and angry? It's during these 3 days, pile number 2, that you will learn so much about you. And it seems like you're a person who loves educating yourself. So please try this practice so you can hear your inner child. I see that this is a message here because you have came a long way. And now what's left is these triggers that you're not seeing. And once you see these triggers, what you can educate yourself into why they trigger you, and then you can rectify your thinking process, and you'll be able to push away these triggers and become and have healthier thoughts, a healthier neurological pathway, so that you grow again. Because you're all about growing yourself. You're all about it, pile number 2. And I see that this is what your inner child is strongly telling you to do here, is to be an observant. You need to hear them out now, pile number 2. Now, if it's completely impossible for you to do that, and I mean like completely impossible, it's not possible for you to go quiet, then you have to watch yourself all day long. See where you needed to say something, where you were triggered. Collect and journal during these 3 days, either way, whether you're silent or not. What pushed you to say certain things? What made you feel triggered in certain situations, even if they were very small as playing with a little child or talking to the barista, whatever it is, while picking up your coffee. Small or big situations, write them down and observe them very well, because they'll mean the world to you in terms of going through your next rebirth with your inner child. I see you here being a partner with your inner child rather than pushing them away. You definitely work together to grow, and that's a very healthy relationship that you have here. I see here a very interesting message from your inner child, pile number 2. So the petalite shows me that you're a very empathetic person by nature. You're an empath. And the interesting thing is, you're not just an empath with people, obviously. You're empathetic with yourself. How interesting. You're very soft with yourself. You have a very, very honest, empathetic nature to you. You don't do it to get accepted. You're genuinely a good person who wants to help out, even if you're not getting anything out of it. And you treat yourself the same way. I keep getting drawn to the spiral. Okay, now we have to talk about this, but I don't want it to ruin our trail of thoughts. This is coming out very strong. Sorry about that, pile number 2. So like we said, your inner child, you as an inner child or as a person, you are a very empathetic person to people, but especially to yourself. And here is a strong message from your inner child here. You seem like you have a very wise inner child who's been noticing a lot of what is happening, just like the petalite, from behind the scenes. And you usually give out your best qualities and your best face to everyone. And some people take great advantage of that, pile number 2. So I see your inner child telling you to face people with your shadow rather than your light. Meaning, they're not telling you to be mean at all. With your kind, graceful demeanor, just show strength first, because not a lot of people understand that you are truly empathetic, that it comes from a healthy place and not from a place of weakness. And I see an advice here of showing strength first, so that people appreciate and not take advantage of you and take you for granted, while you do the kindness that you love to do, pile number 2, because it seems like you have a lot to offer. You're such a wonderful, sweet soul that has to live in a cruel world. And I don't want to say cruel, but where people need to still grow. And a lot of the mistakes that happen, it's cruel to each other, because the souls need to grow. So we're not judging anyone here. But in order to face things in a healthier way, the observation from your sweet, smart inner child, as they've seen you over and over, is to always give out the shadow, which is your stronger side, because obviously you have strength in your shadow, always keeping you in balance before you show your good side. So you should lead with that. And shadow doesn't mean bad. People can have art in their shadow. People can have strong characters in their shadow. So we don't mean you need to be bad. We only mean that you need to bring out your stronger side. That doesn't always particularly show your empathetic side first, before you give out your other hand, which is full of empathy and sweetness. Pile number 2. So pile number 1, pile number 2, I said I've noticed the spiral. Do you see it? Wasn't sure if you can see it through the camera. I was trying to hold it for you. I think now you can see it. So the spiral was thought throughout time to be a symbol of energy, of course, and depending on which side it spirals, it's either clockwise or anti-clockwise. The spiral indicates either attraction or release of life energy. It holds geometric secrets of creation. And what I'm trying to get to here is that I think your inner child is letting you know that when you're quiet and you learn about your triggers and you let go of certain patterns, letting go as an energy creates a space that automatically calls to be filled. It's like a vacuum, and you have to be aware of how you're going to fill it. So as you're releasing pile number 2, you have to be aware of what you're putting in instead as thoughts, because these are equally important. You don't want to harbor new unhealthy thoughts that replace it. So you need to think, oh, so that's my trigger? And you need to think, what am I going to replace it with before you start the practice of releasing that thought? And so if you want to release anger, if you want to release fear, you have to let them go, but there's instantly a void. What are you going to include? You're going to include, I'm okay. I'm not letting go. It's okay to be afraid, but I'm not accepting fear anymore. I'm only accepting to be who I am, whether I experience it or not. I'm quietly letting go of fear and accepting me, whether I have it or not, whether it comes back or not. What I'm going to do is quietly let it go because I can. So pile number 2, it was an honor doing your reading for you. It was I don't want to say it because it was a unique reading that I have not seen before. Kudos to you. If you've made it this far, please leave a clapping emoji down in the comment section because you really deserve it here. And it was truly an honor doing this reading for you. If you've enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel so that you never miss a reading that I upload. And I'll catch you in the next reading. Bye. Hi, pile number 3. So you've chosen this beautiful little Russian doll. So let's put it aside here for you to see. And we're going to do your reading with different divination tools. We're going to use crystals, we're going to use your tarot cards, and we're going to use cubes in order to find out exactly what your inner child wants to say to you. So let's pick out a crystal first to find out energy of the reading. Wow, you have 2. Now that is interesting. Number 3. Wow. So you have rose quartz and sunstone. Interesting. Now that's interesting. Number 3. See, the sunstone is all about freeing yourself. And rose quartz is all about finding love. But your inner child here is screaming because these just came out. I didn't even finish my sentence. They need to be free, pile number 3, and we'll find out why here. I'm going to put this here. And this right away gives me an idea that you need to create your wholeness. We'll find this out together. Pile number 3. So it seems like your inner child, straight off the bat, needs to be free and needs a lot of love. We'll figure out how to do this in your reading specifically. I won't just give you some vague advices at all. We'll get straight down into the situation, at the root cause of things. We'll understand what's going on, and we'll see exactly what it wants to tell you, pile number 3. All right, so what does pile number 1's inner child wants to tell them? What does pile number 1's inner child wants to tell them? Oh, wow. You have the 3 of Swords. Wow, pile number 1, 3. Wow. You have the Knight of Swords. A lot of pain here. May I give you a sweet virtual hug? I'm so sorry, pile number 3. It seems you have been through a lot, man, in life. So much heartache, so much pain. I think life was very tough on you, was quick to call you out, was quick to hurt you, and you are craving love and being free. Pile number 3, my sweet, beautiful souls. I am so sorry. We're going to figure this out together. I promise you, we're not leaving this reading until you get the help that you need. So what does pile number 3's, oh, sweet, sweet soul, inner child wants to tell them? What does pile number 3's inner child wants to tell them? Let me see, my sweet, strong souls here. So much toughness. I told you you were tough. But you had to create your strength, pile number 3, as a result of the tough experiences that you've been in. So on the outside, you look so tough and sometimes very hard to deal with. Sometimes, for some people, you cut people easily, or you attack people sometimes easily. Not, it doesn't come from a bad place at all. The strength that you have comes from a hurt place. Pile number 3. Oh my God, I see here. Okay. Let me put this whole picture together so that we say this. I see what's going on here. All right. So what does pile number 3's inner child wants to tell them? What does pile number 3's inner child want to tell them? So you have guidance right under the 3 of Swords. You have innocence. I told you we're sweet souls. I figured you out, pile number 3. Sweet souls under all the strength. You have breakthrough under Knight of Wands. Okay. Very cool. You have isolation. Okay, now that makes all the sense in the world. Okay, now let's take your cubes to get a specific story here of what they want to say to you. Let me shuffle these behind the camera so that it doesn't hurt your ears. 1 second. Right, I'm going to organize these and come back for you. So pile number 3. Like we said, you've been through a lot of pain in your life. You did not have it easy, and you've had to alone figure this whole situation out for yourself, become a strong person on your own, create many breakthroughs for yourself alone. Pile number 3, you've achieved so much. So this tough world that you've gone through, yes, it of course had a negative effect on you, but at the same time it did give you a lot of strength. You'll notice, pile number 3, that you're quite unique. In fact, you must be the most unique person, or one of the very unique people in your circle, pile number 3. You create a lot of breakthroughs, you achieve a lot of things easily, and that came as a result of the tough things. And shadow does not always hide bad things. It also hides amazing things. So what our job to do is to bring shadow back to light. Free everything, light and shadow. Use everything to our advantage. So one of the things that I see here, pile number 3, is that there has been abandonment going on as a child. I see abandonment constantly happening to you, and you have to take care of yourself alone. And I see abandonment is one of the issues that you truly are trying to figure out until today. And because you don't want to be abandoned, a lot of the times, pile number 3, rejection causes you to be greatly hurt as a result of this maltreatment that we're going to get into now. That you have learned to isolate yourself, to become lonely, to show a facade of everything is okay, a strong facade again, just like the ice here. But in fact, all you need is love, pile number 3. Oh, I truly feel for you. All you need is love. And you've just learned to armor yourself and be that tough person, when in fact you are such a beautiful soul. It's just that not a lot of people get to experience that sweet side of you. You have two extremes going on. A very wise soul, because you had to learn a lot before your age, ever since you were a small child. But at the same time, you're still an innocent, sweet soul. And you have the two going together for you in your life, where you're very wise, ahead of your time, very achieved a lot of things for your age. But at the same time, you just want to be your sweet, innocent you, in peace. And even though isolation was a great solution for you, you don't feel free. Your inner child is screaming to heal, be loved, and be free, pile number 3. And the reason for that is I see you've been harshly treated as a child somehow. You had to depend on yourself. You were punished for every little thing, maybe. And they could be great parents or great teachers, by the way, or wonderful people in the community around you, but they just didn't know any better. And I see you being toughly dealt with whenever you didn't do something as per their expectations. You had to greatly depend on yourself. You had to grow on your own, because most of the teachings weren't really in alignment with the greater good for you. You weren't given everything that you needed, and you had to greatly depend on yourself and figure things out for yourself. You were sometimes harshly compared to other people, and you depended greatly on the few people, the few friends, or the few people who truly cared and showed you love. But you barely had any kind of real love in your life, pile number 3. I'm so sorry. But I'm also here to tell you that your inner child, of course, wanted to hear you say that, because what part of hearing it is healing, pile number 3. Don't feel bad for crying. Don't label yourself for being weak. These are all wrong labels. And part of your healing journey was to cry and let it all out. You needed to take care of you, pile number 3. Now, you've been receiving a lot of guidance from your spirit guides, a lot of guidance on how to heal your inner child, and it seems like these are the issues here that you need to heal. this, use your strength that you have, but you need to discern on when to use it, because it seems like you're wearing it all day long when you're dealing with people. I see things being taken away from you, so you're constantly protecting your territory. And here, you're invited to think, when is it time for me to greatly protect myself, because we do use our shadows, and when is it time to relax and give to the people who love us, because we don't want our abandonment to trigger attitudes that push people who love us away. So that's the first thing. You need to discern when you need to protect yourself and when to keep it loose with the armor. Be kind to the ones who are kind to us, to nurture healthier relationships. So that's the first thing that I see for you here, pile number 3. The second thing that I clearly see here that is screaming in your reading from your inner child is great fear of abandonment, great fear of rejection, criticism, and this is what's keeping your inner child stuck. This is what needs to free your inner child. It's screaming out, please release me, please make me free, I'm stuck. And this is the pattern that's been keeping you stuck ever since you were a child because of the circumstances that happened to you. And here, pile number 3, you are advised to let go of the fear of abandonment. You tell me, oh, easier said than done, thank you very much. Why have I clicked here? I'll tell you why. Because I will leave her, the psychologist that I'm quoting, in the description box so you can click on her videos. She's amazing. She talks about childhood trauma and how to heal it. And so she says that everything is a trigger, including the fear of rejection, the fear of criticism. All these are triggers that happened not because you are a person who's worthy of triggers, but these happened to you because of traumas that happened ever since you were a child. And now is the time to let it go, because now we've grown and are more wise and have information. And since this is a trigger, it's not who you are. It's something that happens to you. And you're in control of that by saying, acknowledging that it happens to you, acknowledging the need, because emotions are here to tell you something, and they're telling you to not be alone, for example. So acknowledge that you're going to get better from the criticism that happened. Improve if it's not real criticism, that you know it's useless in this matter. And fear of abandonment, you get the message of knowing that you need to be around loving people, not toxic people. So take in the message, acknowledge the message, and say, just like any trigger in the world, no, I don't accept triggers. I'm sorry. I've grown now and I need to free my beautiful inner child. I'm going to take care and mother my inner child. And they come first. No, I'm not allowing me to feel triggers. I'm not allowing me to be hit by triggers. I will acknowledge its message. I will work on it. But I will be okay. I'm not going to be hit by emotions. I'm sorry. And you are, in fact, in control of that. I've listened to a lot of neuroscientists, neurologists, which she is also a lab researcher. Her name is Dr. Caroline Leaf, in case you want to read more about her. And she says you're totally in control, as per the lab researches that you've done. And you can listen to her. She's here on YouTube. I admire her. So again, going back to the message, my point is, you are in control. Pile number 3. Believe me, all you need to do, that's how you reverse, according to Dr. Caroline Leaf as well, that's how you reverse the pattern that you've built over the years, is to not accept triggers. Say, I acknowledge the message, I will work on it, but I'm not accepting to lose my mental peace. I will be okay. Realize it's a trigger, it's not you, and release them. The moment when you're okay being by your own, that's the moment, pile number 3, when you're going to be okay and have healthier relationships. You know how it is when, for example, with money, you may not have a lot of money. You realize that you need to buy certain things, but it doesn't trigger you that you can't buy them. You're okay with not having money, and you are working slowly towards building money and getting what you want. It's the same thing. It's that healthy balance, acknowledging something, but at the same time not taking in the stress, the fear, the need for things. And understand that loneliness is a message, but if it comes out too frequently, it's a trigger. Loneliness, fear of abandonment, criticism, they are all triggers. And they're not who you are. They came from childhood. And you just need to acknowledge the message. You know them by now. You don't need to acknowledge it every time because you know it. But at the same time, you're living by it and you're trying to fix it. And so when they hit you, say, I'm sorry, I'm working on it and I'm not taking triggers. And this way you build your mental stamina. You build your mental strength, pile number 3. And you free your beautiful inner child. And this way you give it true love. Not love that is dependent on people, that is threatened by people leaving or threatened by criticism. But love by healthy relationships that respect you for who you are going to treat you with respect only when you, pile number 3, also treat them with respect. Pile number 3, it was an honor doing this reading for you. Know that I have great respect for the efforts you put in. Know that I deeply and truly care for you. And if you've made it this far, please give a yellow heart to symbolize both the rose quartz and the sunstone down in the description box. And if you've enjoyed this reading, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel so that you never miss a reading that I upload. And I'll catch you in the next reading. Bye!